Demonstrations have continued for a fifth day in Costa Rica to protest a government deal with the International Monetary Fund. The UK government continues its attacks on refugees and asylum seekers with recent revelations of the idea of processing asylum seekers on Ascension Island. Health authorities in the Philippines reported the highest daily number of new COVID-19 cases in 2 weeks. From the headquarters of TeleSUR English in Havana, Cuba, this is From the South. I'm Laura Palmeiro. And we begin in Costa Rica, where demonstrations have continued for the fifth day in a row to protest economy policies promoted by the government of President Carlos Alvarado. Demonstrators have blocked 17 highways and bridges while rejecting a possible agreement between the government and the International Monetary Fund for $1.75 billion US. The agreement includes raising income and property taxes and a tax on banking transactions, as well as the merging of several public institutions and the sale of others, among them the International Bank of Costa Rica. Meanwhile, authorities have claimed that the roadblocks are harming economic sectors by preventing passage to airports, borders, agricultural zones, and some companies causing multi-million-dollar economic losses. This Sunday, Venezuelan President Nicolás Maduro highlighted during a press conference that over 10,000 Venezuelans have entered the country through illegal crossing from Colombia, thus facilitating the spread of the COVID-19 in the country.
Today we calculate that along the illegal trails of the huge border with Colombia, Zulia, Táchira, Apure, and in addition the border with Brazil, no less than 10,000 compatriots infected with the coronavirus entered the country illegally. They paid too and were taken to their homes.
Likewise, President Maduro assured that the Russian vaccine Sputnik V is totally safe, with a high rate of immunization against COVID-19 registered in those who have participated in the clinical trials.
The vaccine is absolutely safe in all its phase 1, 2, and the ongoing phase 3 trials on being registered worldwide. The vaccine generates an immunology of 1.6.
This Sunday saw yet another day of repression in Chile when groups of cyclists were attacked by special armed forces. Hundreds of people on bikes rallied in Plaza Italia, a major square of the capital Santiago, to denounce the continued acts of police brutality. However, officials of the special forces did not allow the demonstrators to conclude the rally, instead of violently dispersing them with water cannons. Chile has seen several days of demonstrations in the lead-up to the referendum to determine whether the country will draft a new constitution and who will be responsible for the process in 3 weeks' time. The ongoing police brutality against protesters has led to calls for the resignation of the General Director of the Chilean Police, Mario Rosas. In Guatemala, members of the caravan of Honduran migrants have denounced that the Guatemalan army is expelling them from the country, as they do not have a transit permit due to the refusal of the immigration authorities to grant it at the border crossing between Guatemala and Honduras. Our correspondent Santiago Botón brings us the details.
This is the moment when the Guatemalan army corners a group of Honduran migrants to expel them towards the El Corinto border crossing between Guatemala and Honduras.
When we were coming in the truck, they took us down and brought us here. But we are in Central America, and I don't see why they should stop us. It is in Mexico that they can deport us.
According to the migrants, the incident occurred at a checkpoint at kilometer 509 in the area of La Libertad, in Petén Department, where they were tricked out of the vehicle.
He said that we should get out of the vehicle, that we should present our Honduran identification, and that he would help us to get a COVID test. He was going to give us water, food, which he did. They gave us some bread, some juice, and then they were going to give us free passage to leave. Once we obeyed, we went back to where we were sent, where they were not complying with the biosecurity measures because they had us locked up like animals. And then a Guatemalan army truck appeared and the whole story changed.
The Guatemalan army claims that it is deporting migrants because they do not have a migratory permit and have not been tested for COVID-19.
They were told that they were going to be held. This is to provide them with the means of transport and to take them to undertake the migratory procedure.
Honduran citizens assured that migration authorities denied them permission to pass through Guatemalan territory.
Just because we didn't bring a permit and migration wasn't given out there at customs. They told us they weren't going to grant it because we wanted to enter with the permits.
These checkpoints were installed as part of the state of exception decreed by the government in 6 departments of the country to stop the passage of the caravan of Honduran migrants, and they have managed to prevent the passage of much of the caravan.
Santiago Botón, TeleSUR Norte de Guatemala.
And we'll be right back after this a very short break, so don't go away. Welcome back to From the South. The UK government continues its attacks on refugees and asylum seekers, with recent revelations that Home Secretary Priti Patel suggested the idea of processing asylum seekers on Ascension Island, an isolated British territory in the South Atlantic Ocean, located more than 4,000 miles from the United Kingdom. As the British government continues to face a widespread criticism of its mishandling of the coronavirus pandemic, it is once again seeking to distract attention through attacks on people it calls illegal migrants, with the support of mainstream British press.
I will introduce a new system that is firm and fair. Fair and compassionate towards those who need our help. Fair by welcoming people through safe and legal routes. But firm because we will stop the abuse of the system. Firm because we will stop those who come here illegally making endless legal claims to remain in our country at the expense of the British public. And firm because we will expedite the removal of those who have no legitimate claim for protection. After decades of inaction by successive governments, we will address the moral, legal and practical problems with the asylum system. Because what if
2 days after being hospitalized with COVID-19, U.S. President Donald Trump briefly left the Walter Reed Military Hospital to salute supporters from his motorcade, thus once again discarding basic precautions to contain the virus. President Trump's physician, Sean Conley, noted this Sunday that his blood oxygen level dropped suddenly on Saturday, but his condition continues to improve. Trump's medical team reported that they gave him a steroid typically only recommended for the very sick, and that he would be discharged as early as Monday. The infected president cruised by supporters in his sealed SUV with windows rolled up, driven by Secret Service agents in protective gear, which were potentially exposed to the disease that has swept through the White House in recent days. Dr. James P. Phillips, an attending physician at Walter Reed National Military Medical Center, where Trump has been hospitalized since Friday evening, tweeted, "This is insanity," in response to the move. And President Donald Trump posted a video on Twitter this Sunday from the Walter Reed Military Hospital, thanking his team for the response following his positive COVID-19 test, while adding that they had learned a lot about the virus.
Reports from the doctors. This is an incredible hospital, Walter Reed. The work they do is just absolutely amazing, and I want to thank them all, the nurses, the doctors, everybody here. I've also gotten to meet some of the soldiers and the first responders, and what a group. It's been a very interesting journey. I learned a lot about COVID. I learned it by really going to school. This is the real school. This isn't the let's read the book school. And I get it, and I understand it, and it's a very interesting thing, and I'm going to be letting you know about it. In the meantime,
the Canadian city of Montreal saw huge protests calling for justice for Joyce Hechequan, an Indigenous woman who was subjected to racist insults at Chile, dying in hospital. Protesters called for the Quebec government to acknowledge the existence of systemic racism in the province and to take real action against the discrimination Indigenous people face. Hechequan filmed hospital staff insulting her and making degrading comments on Monday while she pleaded for help. The protest came the same day that the Public Security Minister announced that she had asked the coroner's office to conduct a public inquiry into Hechequan's death. Polls closed in Kyrgyzstan on Sunday in parliamentary elections set to determine the 120 seats of the country's Supreme Council. The Central Election Commission noted that 54% of the 3.5 million registered voters cast their ballots in more than 2,004 polling stations, including 45 abroad. Preliminary results show that the 16 parties in the race, the pro-government Unity Party and My Homeland Kyrgyzstan Party, won around a quarter of the votes each, while the opposition United Kyrgyzstan Party surpassed the 7% threshold to enter parliament. The final results are expected to be published on October 5th. The election was monitored by more than 270 observers from 43 countries and 33 international organizations.
It must be said that the citizens of Kyrgyzstan were more active this election. The election was held in a calm atmosphere. It is necessary and all procedures were followed. Now the votes are being counted.
Overall, everything went smoothly. There were no blatant violations. I'll continue observing until all the votes are counted.
And we have more stories coming up after this final short break, so stay with us. Welcome back to From the South. Health authorities in the Philippines reported the highest daily number of new COVID-19 cases in 2 weeks this Sunday at 3,190. The Department of Health noted that 85% of the new cases were detected from September 21st to October 4th, pushing the total number to over 322,000. Meanwhile, the capital, Manila, recorded the largest number of the new confirmed cases at more than 1,200. The Department of Health also pointed out that over 3.6 million people have been tested for COVID-19 in the country so far. Meanwhile, the COVID-19 death toll climbed to more than 5,700 after 100 people succumbed to the virus. Madagascar's president has launched a capsule version of a herbal drink he says is both a treatment and cure for the novel coronavirus. The capsule version of the drink, known as COVID Organics, is derived from the Artemisia annua plant, also known as sweet wormwood, which has proven antimalarial properties as well as other herbs. The infusion's effects have not been scientifically tested, and the World Health Organization has issued several warnings against its use and distribution. President Andry has noted that Madagascar's natural resources and expertise could change history, adding that COVID Organics was a source of pride for the country. According to government figures, more than a quarter of Madagascar's 26 million inhabitants have started taking the infusion, while 9 million bottles remain in stock. Azerbaijan's president has expressed his support for a ceasefire with Armenia in the Nagorno-Karabakh region if Armenian troops withdraw from the disputed territory. President Ilham Aliyev stressed that the timetable must be supported by real actions and not only words, adding that it should detail the dates set for withdrawal from every occupied territory. He also noted that bilateral relations with Armenia should be based on dialogue. Meanwhile, Armenian authorities have denounced a new bombardment by Azerbaijani forces against the capital of the disputed region on Sunday. The two sides have accused each other of targeting civilian areas as the conflict appeared to be intensifying a week after heavy fighting broke out in the disputed region. Armenia and Azerbaijan have resisted international calls for a ceasefire, and the clashes have intensified in recent days, with both sides claiming victories on the front and saying they are inflicting heavy losses. The Syrian Arab Army launched a counter-terrorism military operation this weekend to identify enemy positions in occupied areas of the country close to the Golan Heights. Syrian army units established humanitarian corridors in the locality of an extremist involved in the last week's kidnappings and attacks. Following the beginning of the imposed terrorist war against this country 8 years ago, its diplomatic mission to the United Nations has repeatedly demanded the return of the Golan Heights, occupied by Israel in the Six-Day War in 1967, and which today serve as a base for terrorist groups sponsored by the Tel Aviv regime, according to Damascus and its allies. Kenyan President Alpha Conde called on his supporters not to let themselves be provoked into violence as political tensions intensified ahead of the country's presidential elections set for October 18th. Several opposition parties have rejected President Conde's decision to seek a third term in office.
We know our opponent's conspiracy in Guinea. It is the Independent National Electoral Commission, which organizes the elections and proclaims the results. We are aware of someone's plan. He wants to proclaim himself the winner of the 18th October at 6 p.m. and take refuge in an embassy thinking that there will be a war in Guinea. There will be never a war in Guinea. You don't take power with blood. You don't take power by destroying vehicles. You don't take power by provoking others. So please don't respond to the provocation.
In Egypt, a group of archaeologists unearthed 59 sealed sarcophagi with mummies inside in a vast necropolis south of the capital. The Ministry of Tourism and Antiquities said that had been buried in 3 wells more than 2,600 years ago. Several foreign diplomats attended the presentation ceremony in Saqqara, where the sarcophagi were put on display and one was opened before reporters to show the mummy within. The discovery is the latest in the series of archaeological finds that Egypt have sought to publicize in an effort to revive its tourism sector, which was badly hit by the turmoil that followed the 2011 uprising and received a further blow this year to the coronavirus pandemic. And we have come to the end of this news brief. You can find these and many other stories on our website at telesurenglish.net. You can also join us on social media, Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. For TeleSUR English, I'm Laura Palmeiro. Thank you for watching.